almost lost my Venezuelan like heritage, like identity. I felt very out of place, and I didn't feel like I was Canadian enough either. But it's just there's no money, there's no food, you can't really find like medicine if someone's sick. So it's just not a great place to live.
I heard their economy just some corrupt system that
we don't even use our own currency anymore. And then that gave me that feeling of like the unknown, like, oh, like I hate the unknown. Like I need to know exactly what I'm gonna do like 3 years from now, or exactly what I'm gonna do 10 years from now. And then that has kind of been like very, very...
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have university graduate in psychology and is currently finishing her studies in interior design with a passion for exploration. She has decided to take a gap year to travel and immerse herself in new cultures and experiences. Amanda Fuenmayor. We will discuss culture and travel, growing up as a Venezuelan in different countries, fitness, and anxiety. Everyone, welcome. All right, welcome, Amanda Fuenmayor.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, my name is Amanda. I just graduated university with a bachelor's in psychology and a minor in Spanish literature, which is kind of weird, but
Yeah,
it's good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I love traveling. I'm very artistic, so I kind of want to take up, I think I told you this, an interior design degree, which I was doing before. And I just kind of paused it to finish my degree. And I love walking. I love journaling. I'm very into like spirituality.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You listen to music while you're walking?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, listen to music. But not like the kind that you think, like, what would you listen to when you're walking?
Depends for me. Sometimes when I listen to music too much, I get, when you listen to music too much and they get depleted?
Yeah.
Like, I like to switch between podcasts, music, and then silence to be able to absorb everything.
Yeah.
But, what kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to, like, Latino music, so like reggaeton. I don't know if you know reggaeton.
I watched are Disney movies a good representation of kind of that culture? Like music? I watched Encanto. Is that
does Encanto have? No.
Okay, but go on. Next.
Do you want me to put it?
What's that?
Do you want me to like show you?
Sure. Yeah, sure. You could. No, like... no, it would get copyrighted.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. If you search up like Karol G, do you know Karol G?
No, I don't.
Okay, so Karol G, she's like very big. Bad Bunny, you know Bad Bunny?
I know Bad Bunny, yeah.
Okay, so he's kind of like that reggaeton genre, but also trap. Sorry?
Despacito.
That's Luis, but that would be kind of reggaeton, yeah.
Okay.
Like Despacito, but not with the English in it, yeah. There's a very like moving like,
I'll have to check it out after.
Yeah, so I listen to that, but sometimes I get really bored, and then I also listen to podcasts. I listen to like Mary's Cup of Tea. She's a very small artist, but Mary's Cup of Tea is like about like self-love, how to deal with life things. And then recently this girl named Ashley Corbo, and she also kind of self-love and like thinks about your life. And yeah. So I alternate.
And then, how have walks helped you kind of in life?
It's helped me a lot, honestly, because so I deal with anxiety a lot, and I find that if I don't want to go to the gym, for example, and it's a really nice day out, I just go for a walk, and I either listen to music or I just tune everything out, and I listen to like the birds, like when it's summer mostly, but the birds, the water, the plants. I go out with my dog, for example, and I find that it just really calms me down as opposed to going to the gym where there's a lot more stimulus, you know what I mean? So I find that has been really helpful with anxiety.
Yeah, a lot of people definitely underplay walking when it comes to alleviating the anxiety, the tense feelings that we feel. Just motion in itself is such a cathartic tool that people don't utilize enough. And so you travel a lot.
I do.
And you were just in Madrid, Spain with
I was
Javi?
with Javi, yeah. That was last year in June, and that's kind of where like we met before. We met in January, but we got to know each other more in Spain.
Okay.
And
How has growing up in multiple countries influenced your perspective on Venezuelan heritage?
So it has influenced me because I was born in Venezuela, and then at 4 years old I moved to Mexico City. And then in Mexico City, so I was from 4 to 11, and I felt more, like more Mexican. I was part of that culture. My parents had a bunch of not so much Venezuelan friends, to be honest, like a lot more Mexican friends. So I would start using like the vocabulary, the slang. And then when we came here, I almost lost my Venezuelan like heritage, like identity, and I felt very out of place. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know, like if you felt like that when you came
No,
here.
I did. I came here when I was
Yeah.
9, and you're still trying to find your identity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So growing up, I'm like, yeah, like I'm Mexican. I grew up here technically, and then I came here, and then I lost that, I guess, identity part of it. And a lot of people then here would like make fun of me because I was Mexican or I didn't speak properly. So then I didn't feel like I was Canadian enough either. And eventually, like I found myself more in like university when I met more like people like within my culture, people that were in Latin America, that experienced living in Latin America, or people that were born here but had parents from Latin America.
When I arrived when I was 9 years old, I think this is back 2009, 2010.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just such a big culture shock because here I was speaking Filipino every day, and our humor was different. The culture of it all, the teachers, the teaching styles, kind of the way they discipline the kids to make friends. And then I went to this place, school called St. Teresa. Now it's New Horizons.
You went to St. Teresa? Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it was just such I don't know how to fit in properly. Yeah. And I developed this I was ashamed to be Filipino for a phase there.
Yeah.
When I don't know where I got it, because I don't think people necessarily made fun of me for being Filipino. And I'm sorry to hear that people did make fun of you for being Mexican or being Venezuelan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's just like when you were moved at that young age, you're trying to find yourself. And how did was it tough making friends?
It was, at first, because I was in grade 6, everyone was like, wow, like it's a new person. I've never seen someone from Mexico or Venezuela or whatnot, because, like we live in Sherwood Park, and I think in 2011, 2010, we didn't have as much diversity, in my opinion, as we do now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't tough at first making friends in grade 6, but then come grade 7, and, it's like adolescence, then that's when I got made fun of more, and it was really hard to make friends. I didn't have any friends until maybe grade 9, like my solid friends. And yeah, I would be the odd one out. Like nobody would ever want to like pick me in like in gym class, or nobody wanted to talk to me. They would make fun of me like, oh, I go back to Mexico when I wasn't even technically Mexican, but like things like that. Or yeah, they would just say mean things.
I feel like the kids that were Spanish, they just assume that you're from Mexico.
Oh, right? Yeah, of course. They don't
realize
no
that there's Spain, there's South America, and Venezuela. And yeah, you lived in Mexico for a little bit?
I lived in Mexico City, yeah, from 4 to 11 years old.
And you went to school there?
And I went to school there, yeah. I went to elementary school there, or I guess kinder to elementary.
What were the kind of the major differences that you found going to school there versus in North America?
So over there, I think it was just very structured, and you had to wear uniforms. I would assume in the Philippines you also had to wear uniforms.
Yeah.
So we had to wear uniforms every day. We would, on Mondays specifically, we had to stand and look at the flag and sing the anthem, the Mexican anthem. And I think the only day that we could ever wear normal clothes was Friday, and that's it. And then, yeah, it was just very different. Like here, I feel like it was more freeing. You could wear whatever you want. You could express yourself. But I feel like that led to more bullying, because when you were in Mexico, everyone looked the same. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't be like, oh, why are you wearing that? Like you're wearing the same outfit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Uniforms do. see their benefit too.
Yeah.
But then students would argue that, oh, it's taking away from my freedom of expression.
Right.
But yeah, I see both sides. But I think ultimately it's just down to the kids whether they're nice to their fellow students.
For sure.
And
I mean, I still experienced bullying in Mexico. I wouldn't say to the extent of here, but it was also because my accent, or I wasn't born there. I didn't speak like them. I didn't have the same culture. But it definitely wasn't to the extent that I got here for some reason.
And I found in the Philippines, it was more physical.
Yeah.
Here, it's more kind of talking
Like
behind people's backs and social medias
media.
into play. I find that it's more hurtful. I find, yeah, because at least with physical, it's done, and then you don't have to really. It's not ambiguous, and you don't have to have these mental battles of, oh, what do they think? What could they be saying about my back? And it's more a character attack rather than just like you get punched in the face or you get your hair pulled.
Yeah, well, you're internalizing it, right? So then,
yeah.
It's been how many years since somebody said go back to Mexico, and I still think about that, like almost not every day, but sometimes I'm like, wow, like this person really said that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, they probably don't remember saying that at all.
Oh, of course, no. I mean,
yeah.
When I went to high school, the same person that did that was like, oh my gosh, hi.
Yeah, exactly.
You look so different. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
I had I've opened up about this in my previous episodes, but I had an accent in grade 6 because I just fully wasn't as integrated, and Filipino was still kind of my dominant language, and you could still hear it in my accent. But yeah, some girl just kept, I don't know if she was actually just didn't understand me, but she kept telling me to enunciate better. Hey, I can't understand your accent. And she was like actually kind of mad about it. But it wasn't like she was bullying me. It was just, she just didn't understand me, I guess. But she seemed angry about it and very judgy. And then I kind of carried that on to middle school into high school. And I kept kind of doubting what I'd say. Like I'd say certain things, and I could put up I could be very confident when it came to my speech, but then when it came to about ideas and kind of knowledgeable things that are of, on a deeper level, I would question it, and I would kind of really hone in and stress about which words I was using, if I'm even making sense. And I think I've finally realized that it was kind of the same feelings I had when I do get into those anxious thoughts was because of that one thing that girl made me feel. And it's like, why do I even feel that way? It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Same thing with if somebody said something about your body or something in high school or back then, like that still, gets to you later on.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like people need to talk about that more, and just to truly understand themselves. Can you share a specific cultural experience from your travels that profoundly impacted your understanding of your own identity?
So Spain.
Oh yeah.
That was definitely before I went to Spain, quick backstory, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I kind of wanted to take a break from McEwan. I actually thought that I wasn't going to go back to McEwan for a while. I ended up going to Montreal for a bit because my sister lives there. So I wanted like a little escape from Edmonton, just clear my mind. That ended up kind of being worse.
Oh yeah.
Because I didn't have friends there, so I had to do everything like almost again. And I wasn't ready for that. But then I came back, and then that's when my professor said to me, hey, I want to make this trip just specifically for like one class to Spain, Madrid. And then also like experience, Spanish literature and then the culture. But I need you to, go and ask people around. So that's what I did. I didn't get lucky with other people, but she ended up finding other people. And then we went to Spain. The school funded a lot of our stuff, which is great because I didn't think that I was going to go because of the money aspect of it. But they funded us like so much money, which I'm so grateful for. And then we ended up going to Spain. And it's just so different from North America. Like, have you ever been to Europe?
No, I have not been to Europe.
Okay, so mostly like the southern part, I would say, because they take like naps during the day. They have like this thing called siesta. I think it's from like 2 p.m. to like 7 p.m. and it's like a break where like nothing's open.
Siesta,
yeah, which is kind of like that, like a nap. Not everyone naps, of course, but they have that, and
a little
like
break.
Yeah, so it's like a little break or a big break, and you go out, you like go walk.
For how long?
Sorry?
For how long was it?
It's from 2 to like 7 or 1 to 7, something like that.
Okay.
And then people go out like later at night. Like I think their nightlife starts at like 10, 11. Like they have supper at 11 p.m. and then they go out.
That's so late.
Yeah, it's so late.
So they probably have, like, a lot of people have 2 sleeping times?
I think so. Or they just don't sleep. And then they sleep in that time. But I find that like, so when I was there was a lot of people in the morning at like 8, just like sipping a coffee, having their croissant, having their breakfast. And then they would come back out at 12. And then they would be again like having their glass of wine, just like taking their time. And then their siesta. So it's like they don't even work that much. And if they work, they really value like their time to take their time and sit and talk and like, you know, not work to live. It's kind of, or yeah, you know what I mean? Like, what is that saying? It's like, like they're not living to work. They're working to live. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Like a lot of people just, actually, I want to read you have you guys heard the Mexican fisherman parable?
No.
I that just reminded me of the you'll like this.
Okay.
So an American investment banker was at the pier of a small coastal Mexican village late one morning when a small boat docked. Inside the small boat was just one fisherman who had already caught several large fish. The American complimented the fisherman on the fish and asked how long it took to catch them. The fisherman replied, "Only a little while." The American then asked why didn't he stay out longer and catch more fish? The Mexican said he had caught plenty enough to provide for his family needs for quite a while, and even to give some fish away to the other village. The American then asked, "What do you do with the rest of your time?" The American fisherman said, "I sleep late, play with my children, take siestas with my wife, and stroll into the village where I sip wine and play guitar with my amigos. I have a full and busy life." The American scoffed. "I am an experienced businessman and can help you," he said. "You should spend more time fishing, and with the proceeds, you buy a bigger boat. With the proceeds from the bigger boat, you could have a fleet of fishing boats, open up your own cannery, and control all the distribution," he said. "Of course, you would need to leave the small coastal fishing village and move to a bigger city to run the expanding enterprise." The Mexican fisherman asked, "But how long will it take?" To which the American said, "Oh, 15 or 20 years or so." "But what then?" asked the Mexican. The American laughed and said, "That's the best part. When the time was right, you would sell your company and become rich. You would make millions." "Millions? Then what?" the Mexican said. The American said, "Then you could retire, move to a small coastal fishing village where you could sleep late, play with your kids, take siestas with your wife, and stroll to the village where you could sip wine and play guitar with your amigos." The Mexican said, "I already do that." Now, did you guys like that?
Yeah. That's good.
It's kind of, you had mentioned that in that culture, they take those siestas, right? And I feel a lot of people, we work and work and work. We forget that what's in front of us, it's already our future. This is already our utopia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when we think of kind of retirement, when we think of the best life, we could live that best life. Instead, we prioritize work, money, the things that, sure, on a society level, it is very valuable. But then you had said that these people have these siestas, and in that culture, they use work just to provide enough so then they could focus on what truly matters.
Yeah. No, and my dad has always been the person to be like, "No, you have to work so hard, and then by the time that you're 80, you can do all these things." I'm like, "No, Dad, like I really want to do these things now, and I don't think that I need to burn out until I, burn out for like ever until I can do all these things." While in Spain, they're literally just, or in Spain, Italy, France are doing that already, you know, like they, like on the weekends, they don't talk about work. Like when you go to a party or something, you don't see people being like, oh, like, what do you do for work? What are you doing at work this time? Or what are your like aspirations afterwards? Like nobody talks about work. And I feel like here everyone's just like, yeah, like what do you do for work? What's happening? Yeah. So it's like, why
And a
can't we just take a
prestige,
break?
right? What do you?
Yeah.
It's
Like what's the next step?
yeah.
Always.
One of my favorite podcasters. His name's Chris Williamson. He talks about this idea of observable and hidden metrics, and a lot of people sacrifice hidden metrics for observable metrics. Like they'll take a 10,000 pay hike just to move to a different country or a different city even, and they sacrifice all their friends and their family. Maybe you are incentivized to work more, but then you're sacrificing your sleep. Then you go home to your mom, dad, and you're very tired, you're exhausted, and you're more likely to be grumpy. And that's, a lot of people don't think about that. They just think, oh, work. We're in this hustle culture. And while that is respectable, sure, certainly it's society right now, it seems that a lot of people are getting burnt out. A lot of people are mentally ill and, you know, checking out and feeling like they're depleted. And it's, yeah, we definitely need to make some change, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's really only in North America. And I mean, I don't know if you know, Japan also has the same thing where they just work. Like they, you know, they just do that. But in Latin America, for example, I know Chile, where Javi's from, and there was like a higher level of depression because they work so much as well. And I think it's from from 7 a.m. to like 7 p.m. Yeah. So there's like a higher level of depression. So it's like, why are we normalizing that we have to work our whole lives?
It's because it's respected. Like when you hear someone go, oh yeah, I worked from this time to that time, people are like, wow, good job.
Yeah.
But then people don't really, sure, it feels fulfilling. But when you tell people, yeah, I just hung out with my friends all this time, it's like people don't really revel, or people don't celebrate that.
Yeah, they don't appreciate it. Yeah. I had this lady once, I won't mention her name, but I had this lady once tell me, like, when I was in Spain, because I went to Spain, Portugal, Italy, and I was there for only a month. And I mean, that's pretty long, but only a month. And I came back and she was like, why were you gone for that long? And I'm like, can I not do that? Yeah. Like, can I not rest and like experience life when I'm young, you know? And she's like, no, like you should wait.
Yeah, you should wait till you have enough of a nest egg to be able to be comfortable, and then you can go. Yeah. But then by that time comes, you're too old and your health is deteriorating, and being in a plane that long is just very uncomfortable.
Right. I mean, let's say you're not deteriorating, but like you're still good. You can walk and whatnot, but it's just not the same, you know?
No, it's not. Because then people focus on families at that age, and it's just, people are less likely to mingle when you're in that age, in your 30s and 40s. That's kind of, it's time to grow up. You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like, would I want to go to Tomorrowland right now or when I'm 80? You know?
Yeah. No. Exactly. How do you stay connected to your Venezuelan roots while adapting to new cultures and environments?
So one way that I now have done that is through food. I mean, my parents are always making Venezuelan food, and we speak Spanish at home. And then also I just have friends who, like, sometimes we throw little get-togethers where everyone brings like their own food from a different place. Like I will bring like arepas. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like a corn, like a fluffy corn tortilla basically. And you can open it. So I wish I could pull up a picture, but it's like you can open it and you can put like chicken, avocado, tomato, like anything.
Kind of like not a donair, but like
it's round. Like it's
a burrito.
No, it's round. Like it's very round, and you can open it and then you can put a bunch of stuff. Like, you know what an empanada is?
I do, yeah.
So it's kind of like that, but just round.
Yeah. We have empanadas in the Philippines. Yeah. They taste so good. A little bit of sweet, some meat in there. and it's just the perfect mixture, some vegetables.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then kind of I think what makes it sweet, hey, is the kind of the crust, or like the breading around.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
mine is more savory than sweet, but
Yeah.
Chilean ones, I think, are a mixture of both. And apparently they're the best ones.
I know food is, it's a very unique to one's culture. Because when you taste a certain dish, you just get so many memories from your mom cooking it, or you just get to, people talk about food so much, and when you do come in contact with Filipinos, and it's like they're proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's part of we have a bunch of fiestas, and there's like this big roasted pig, we call it lechon.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And like the Filipinos go crazy for the skin. It's tastes so good. You'll have to try that.
Yeah, I have to try that. Yeah. No, but that's pretty much how we've been keeping like the heritage going. Like my mom is always making food. I'm trying to learn how to make that later for when I'm married or have my own kids. And it's just like you said, like it's kind of so nostalgic to think that, oh, like I was eating this in Venezuela back then with like, it's called like Malta. It's like a drink. It's like kind of like a malt, not a beer, but it's kind of like a malt drink. And then you have that with your arepa or like your tequeños, which are kind of like cheese sticks, but better.
Oh,
yeah. We're known for like our fried foods. Like it's good, but it's very fattening, but it's so good.
You guys have a lot of street food?
Yeah. A lot of, like you would go out and there's like a little place where you get your arepa or like your tequeños or whatnot. Yeah. With Coke. Everyone loves Coke over there as well.
When's the last time you were in your home country?
I was 15.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know if you're like familiar with Venezuela, but it's a communist country now. It's very, very bad.
I heard it's not the safest there right now.
I mean, there's a lot of tourists going there for some reason, but I wouldn't think it's safe. Yeah, living there is not that it's unsafe, because it's safer now that there's not a lot of people anymore, but it's just there's no money, there's no food, you can't really find like medicine if someone's sick. So it's just not a great place to live.
I heard their economy, just some corrupt system.
We don't even use our own currency anymore.
Yeah?
Yeah, we use American money.
Because they came to zero.
Yeah.
Right? It went all the way
no, it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we use American money now.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like the people that live there, like my cousins and my aunt, like they live fine, but they definitely want to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a lot of countries, I was listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger's podcast, and he talked about like how so many people go up to him and they ask how they can get a visa to America, and then a lot of people from the Philippines with my dad, they're always wanting to get into Canada, because Canada's the place where they can achieve all their dreams and ambitions, right? And now that I never had to really work for it. My dad just did kind of the point system to be able to get a permanent residence for all of us and his kids, because I was under 18 when he took all of it. But it seems like a lot of people place a lot of high value onto places like the United States and Canada, it seems. But then again, when I'm here, I almost think that people are happier in my home country. You know, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's whether kind of they just come off that way, because I'm not actually there. But I was in the Philippines for like a couple weeks recently, like 5 months ago, 6 months ago.
That,
and the people just seem more hopeful. I mean, and I developed kind of this, it's not that original of a theory, but the increase in wealth and GDP just makes people more comfortable. The more comfortable people are, the more they look for problems. And then that's where depression comes in, lack of meaning. But then when I see people struggling, they don't have time to think of those kind of existential thoughts. Like for me, sometimes, since I already have my food taken care of, water, shelter, I just go to uni, I'm kind of I'm existing, and I'm in deep thought going, why am I here? You know, I'm pretty religious, but I don't have the strongest faith, but it's just, I wonder if Venezuela would like reach the same kind of economic status as Canada. I wonder if they would kind of mirror the issues that we're facing today. Hey,
I don't know. I mean, Venezuela once used to be one of the richest countries in the world because
Yeah.
of the oil, right? And
Mhm.
now it's just bad. Like, I don't think it would ever. Well, maybe. I mean, I'm hopeful that at some point it will get better, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon.
It's always the leader.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, he
Leader
doesn't
up,
want to step down.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
You
we
get
held.
someone who builds and builds kind of a generation worth of wealth. All it takes is one bad son to just squander the wealth, party it all out. And that same goes for countries, because it takes so long to build things. It takes 5 seconds to throw a dynamite and boom, everything's gone.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
100%. But I also ask myself, like, oh, like, how come, like, why am I here? I mean, like, obviously I'm grateful that I live in Canada, but it's also like, wow, like, if that hadn't happened because of my dad, I would be in Venezuela right now.
Yeah.
You know, experiencing all of that, which it's hard. I mean, you can't find food. You know what I mean?
I think about that too. If I hadn't been brought by my dad, because I know, I think recently, there was this girl, or actually Mr. Jolly's daughter, Liz Jolly.
Oh yeah,
She was just on, and she was adopted by Mr. Jolly,
yeah.
and her mom had kicked her out when she was 9.
Wow.
And I just reflected one time, and Liz Jolly is a very phenomenal person. Just I love her story. She's very inspiring. But I can't imagine what I would be like if I didn't have my parents. You know, if I didn't have my dad kind of muster up the courage to come to a country where he knows no one and to start from scratch, and for them to ignore his college kind of diploma and the school that he went to, because I don't know, for some reason they're not as trusting of third world countries' degrees or schooling.
I don't know why.
Yeah, because I working at fast food too, you meet a lot of people of many different backgrounds, and I find that a lot of these adults, 40s, they sacrifice everything. Like, there were teachers, engineers, nurses, but then they come here and they can't get a job because they have to upgrade, and that's like triple the Canadian dollars.
No, of course. Like, my mom, I mean, she got her degree in Mexico City as an engineer, and she can't work here. And I mean, mostly because language a little bit. I mean, she speaks good English, but the accent, I guess, is too thick. But it's also like, come on.
Yeah. But let's fitness. Like, what role does fitness play into your life?
So I actually heard one of your episodes saying that you started for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
I kind of started for the wrong reasons as well. My parents, I mean, my parents are from Venezuela, and they're very much like, not fat shaming, but they say a lot of things about people's weight. Like, they would mention, oh, like, you look skinnier today. Oh, you look bigger today. You know, so then that stuck with me. And then from there, when I came here, comparing myself to my friends who were a little bit more petite and like, they didn't have to work out to look like that, I was like, okay, I need to start working out. So one summer, I think it was summer of grade 8 summer of grade 8 going into grade 9, I started like working out like a soldier at home. I was like, like jumping jacks, like everything. Yeah. And then I stopped eating like junk food. Like, if I ate junk food, I would go back and work out. So I had a really bad relationship with my weight and like working out at first. And then that kind of changed later when I was like, hey, I'm not going to work out anymore. I'm just going to go for walks. But then again, I got those comments from like my parents, like, oh, like, you're looking a little bigger today. Or previous partners would say stuff like that. So then I started working out. And then I kind of got like, now I eat whatever I want. I just go work out, and I go on like the treadmill, or I go on the escalator, not the escalator, the Stairmaster. Yeah. And then I lift weights sometimes, but now I'm not like, I have to go to the gym every single day.
Yeah, it's great to give yourself some grace, because you set up a plan, and whether it be about fitness, about studying, and even with money and kind of where you are at in life, if you don't go that day, if you told yourself that you weren't going to eat that thing and you end up eating it and you chastise yourself, and then you go, oh, this is because they made that comment, and you get into this soup in that soup of negativity. Yeah, it's a big catastrophe. But yeah, going with your pace and having kind of a good workout balance and giving yourself a good diet and kind of feeling good about yourself and kind of recognizing that you did put in the effort and you didn't just like lay there all day.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people definitely guilt shame themselves. Not only is it a problem with each other, because as you said, there are family members or friends that talk about their bodies or kind of just, you see this with guys at the gym, right? We're always trying to size each other up. And yeah, if you compare yourself to them when they're already in level 40, when you're just starting out, of course you're going to feel terrible. And then if you call yourself bad names, it's not good for your mental health. It's not good for being able to come back the next time. But it's easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, no, I internalized that so much. Like from grade 8 all the way up until university, I was like, no, like I'm bigger. I need to look skinnier. I need to lift weights so I can have more muscle because I'm too big. Or I gotta, like I have like some fat on my chin. Like I gotta, start working out again. So it was a constant battle. And I mean, obviously people saying you look skinnier today did not help. I mean, yeah, great, I look skinnier, but like the next day if I don't, then, another comment. So it was a very unhealthy balance. And I think, therapy worked a lot for that. My current boyfriend has worked a lot for that as well. Like he really makes me feel great.
That's good.
And just, social media was a big thing too. Hey, like social media.
Oh, social media is terrible.
Like
if
TikTok,
you don't, they should add guidelines for social media. Because I see it's not just girls anymore, it's guys. Like if you start hitting the gym, if you start just getting into the self-development algorithm type mindset, you see guys that are making millions and they seem like they have it all when you're just starting out. But that's such a disconnect from the reality of it, where it's not that easy. You have to work and you have to suffer and you have to sacrifice everything to be great. And is it worth it? Right?
Yeah.
Is it worth it to have millions of dollars in the bank or have this body? And I've heard the saying where just because it's hard to get doesn't mean it's valuable.
Yep.
Just because somebody's got a Lamborghini doesn't mean that it's fulfilling.
No, 100%. Like if you do have that same body, or if you do have that Lamborghini, are you going to be happy still, or are you going to be the same person you are right now, just with the Lamborghini, the body, or whatnot? Yeah,
like if you have 3% body fat, I don't know if that's very unhealthy.
That's very
but if you're trying to strive for this goal of being this jacked dude or being this like very aesthetic woman, but then how, like in your mind, like, are you actually healthy?
Right.
Or is that compromising your health to get to that point? That's what I always think about.
No, me too. Yeah. And I heard this saying too, a girl that I follow, she's a YouTuber. She was saying how if you were telling your friend, oh, you look bigger, like the things that you tell yourself, would you want your friend to feel like that? So then, like, why are you telling yourself all these things and making yourself feel bad if you wouldn't want your friend to feel like that,
Yeah. A lot of people have this internal dialogue in their head. And I don't know whether I was just like in denial, but I didn't know I had it. But it turns out I did, where I like make a mistake and then I go, oh, you're dumb. Oh, you're stupid. Oh, you're not good enough. And you ever watch Inside Out too?
Oh my God, that really, that hits so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of the scene where the little emotions, they were chucking out the bad memories, and they made the main character just kept telling themselves they're a good person. Like, I'm a good person, just kept telling themselves that. But then later in the movie, spoiler alert, skip over if you want to watch Inside Out too.
Yeah.
the true you is actually made up of all these flaws where you do call yourselves that, and it's that constant battle, because
Yeah.
you're never going to wake up one day and you're not going to go like full on positivity all the time.
No, of course.
It's kind of you have to, that struggle of, oh, I have to prioritize the good. I have to be grateful for what I have. I have to ensure that I have a positive mind. And if you don't have that constant mental effort, you're going to go back to the natural ways of chastising yourself.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's part of the human experience, right? To feel like shit one day and to feel happy the next day. But I mean, there's so many influencers who are like, no, you need to be happy. You need to wake up. You need to do this. You need to do that. You know, like why aren't you happy today?
Yeah, no, it's
like,
okay. Like,
it's fine. Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of guys too, they don't talk about their emotions, and I've been
Right.
kind of trying to advocate that even at the gym. Like I'll just straight up tell them, hey man, I'm miserable today. But it's like,
Yeah.
you don't need to talk about it. I'm just telling you it's straight up. Like I'm not feeling as good. And then kind of virtue signaling is how a lot of these people that I look up to talk about it. Or instead of just like talking about your day, instead of just talking about like the vain superficial stuff, well, that is good because you don't need to go super deep. They think that who would want that, just deep all
Right.
the time. It's when you do have a conversation, you're trying to steer it to a value that you want, whether it be about discipline, about gratitude, about empathy, and just I really like authenticity and vulnerability. Just like letting people in, like whether it be people on campus that I talk to, and just like I do it in progressive overload too, where it's like, yeah, this is my problem, and yeah, tell me about yourself, and I'll be real about it. Like it doesn't have to be like trauma dumping, but it's just a little piece of that flaw of human connection. And
yeah, no, it's good. I feel like men should be more open with their emotions. I mean, I know it's hard because society tells you like, no, you have to be the guy.
Tough.
You have to, you can't cry, but it's healthy. Like, I mean, I guess like guys don't really talk about things like girls talk about, right? But maybe you should,
Yeah. So how do you maintain a consistent fitness routine while exploring new places and managing a busy schedule?
So what I have done is definitely walk. I mean, like, walking has been great. Like, especially when we were in Europe, in Italy, for example. It was too expensive to get a cab, but we would always go down and up the mountain. Like we were like way up in the mountain. My friend and I don't know, Nicolina Dumech? Andrea Dumech?
I don't know.
I don't know if she went to ABJ. I'm pretty sure she went to ABJ. But yeah,
maybe
so
a
like
face if you
yeah, she might have been a year younger than you, I think.
Okay.
And then Nicolina was 2 years older than me. But anyways, we were there together and a cab was like 80 euros. We're like, we're not going to do that. And it was like only 5 minutes, a 5-minute drive. So we thought, okay, like, let's just walk. So we like walk down. I mean, it was awful walking down, but it was good. So we went down, then we would come back up. And yeah, and then that's kind of how I've been staying, I guess, like a consistent fitness routine. I mean, like I don't go to the gym every day anymore. I used to, and when I did, it was just discipline. Like I would wake up like every day at a certain time, but now I felt like that kind of took a toll on my mental health. So I just started doing other things like yoga or like meditation is a really big thing. I don't know. Do you ever meditate? Have you ever gotten into that? Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I meditate in the morning and before I go to bed.
Yeah,
I clear my mind, focus on my breath, and reflect on what I'm all about, because our minds are everywhere and we're bombarded with so much information that it's just, you need to be able to have those tools of calming the body down, and exercise works that way too, where you do calm the body down after kind of intense work or even just walking.
Yeah. No, but I find meditation definitely works. Like if I'm anxious or if I just need more of like a mental, I guess, reset, meditation's great. And I would just put like some Reiki music or some, I guess, like grounding music on the background. And I just close my eyes. I put my hands like this and I just meditate. Or journaling as well. Journaling is really good.
Journaling's fire.
Yeah.
I definitely makes sense reading it in retrospect. How you get so caught up in your emotions when you're writing it, and then you read it back and you go, oh wow, like it wasn't that big of a deal. Or when you're thinking of an idea and then that idea is just so clear in your head. So writing it down on paper just kind of instills that, and you get to build on to that instead of just this mental soup of just, oh, what's this and this and this, and trying to be able to put it all into one thought on a page. Very freeing.
Yeah, no, it's really freeing. And I find that if you do, like, what would you use for prompts? Like for me, I just write anything that comes to mind. I'm like, hey, today I feel like this. And then I'll write like, oh shit, like today this is like the worst day of my life. Like I start like screaming like on like paper. So I just write literally whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, no, me too. I for prompts, I know there are people that ask themselves a question.
Yeah.
And then they write about that question. But yeah, I kind of center it on steering my mind to the positive. And I know Anne Frank, when I quote her, she says, paper is patient.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can achieve the same result by talking to a friend and telling them about your ideas and telling them about how you feel. But then they're always going to have a bias, whether it be they want you to feel a certain way, or they want this idea, but then they don't think that's a good idea. But with paper, it's just there. It just truly listens.
Yeah, no, it really does. And sometimes you want somebody to listen, and if nobody can, then, your paper. And then again, like you said, like you can always go look at it back and be like, wow, like that day was annoying, or that day, or maybe I took that out of proportion, or wow, like that really sucked. It's good to always look back.
Yeah, it's like a little time capsule.
Yeah.
And you get to discover more and more of yourself as the years go on. And I go back in some of them and I realize that some of them are recurring problems, kind of recurring mindsets of like inadequacy or a struggle of something, but the emotions are the same.
Yeah.
Like for getting a bad grade in school, and then, or having a conflict with a friendship, or not feeling enough. It seems like some of these emotions are the same, and to be able to calm yourself down, whether it be about meditation or writing it down to make it clear as to why you felt that way, is good ways to understand yourself better.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like people really underestimate the power of journaling, to be honest. Like, I don't know a lot of people that do it, but it's really helpful.
Yeah. A lot of people need to journal, but it's hard, right? But like even 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, even just writing something down, like today this happened, or just hi, like, like anything. I feel like it's just like so powerful.
Yeah. Talking to yourself and being nice to yourself, right? And actually being constructive with your day. Because I think, I forget who I heard this but kind of the relationship you have with yourself too. While you can have all the friends in the world and all the prestige, there's a question that comes to mind, and it's, would you rather have everyone like you, but you hate yourself? Or would you rather have everyone hate you, but you like yourself? And it's got me thinking, I'm like, on the outside, that is a lot of people. That is a lot of people that you see that in celebrities who seem to have it all. Kurt Cobain, that one chef, traveled the world. These are our dreams, to have all these accolades, but then they commit suicide. And it's like, they didn't like themselves. They felt alone. Right. Look at who's that actor in Good Will Hunting? Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, yeah.
And it's a phenomenal guy, but it's just, if you aren't comfortable with yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you can't look at the mirror and see the positive qualities, then is it really worth it to be liked by everyone else when you're not being your authentic self? And I think journaling has helped me decipher that.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's a time in my life where I had a lot of friends, and I was surrounded by a lot of people, and I was like, wow, like I have a lot of friends, but I feel like shit. Like I don't feel like good about myself. I don't feel like I'm surrounded with people that I can genuinely trust. And then when that was kind of going away, I'm like, okay, so I'm by myself now. I need to take a step back and like, be more positive. Like think about it's not a bad thing not having that many friends. You know, like one or two friends is great. Even just one friend, right? Like it's yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
people make it seem like or yeah, people make it seem like it's so great to have a bunch of friends, but like you still feel alone sometimes. You know?
Yeah. It's you can have everything, but then have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Then some people, it seems they have very little, but they have everything.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
It's
100%.
fascinating to the mind how it's just so repetitive too. Hey, when you look at history, it's all I'm sure they've made this discovery. Like it's very clear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I feel like one of my happiest or most of my happiest memories have been in Venezuela, and we don't have that much in Venezuela, and it's been amazing.
Yeah. Like you don't have to go into these luxurious even traveling in itself, right? Sure, it's good that we do it when we're young, but you can achieve happiness if you can't afford it, like here with the people that you love. And there is a lot of growth that can happen just within your own mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, can you share any specific fitness practices or routines that have helped you stay grounded and healthy, both mentally and physically?
I think really just journaling, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Journaling has been very, very helpful. And I've been doing it since 2022. And like it's always super great to look back and be like, wow, like I have really progressed so much from when I was at 22. So now I'm 24. And now I mean, I don't know, like what are your like fitness routines? Like I basically just now do the Stairmaster, and
Yeah,
that
no,
really keeps me motivated.
I weightlift probably 5-6 times a week, and then like it's
Yeah.
like a push pull or chest and triceps, back and biceps, shoulders, and then legs, and then kind of back to phase. And then I try to do 200 floors or 5K every day. But
Okay.
that's
Wow.
just yeah. I think if I didn't have that, it's easy for me because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think if I didn't have that mode of catharsis of being able to go absolutely ham, I'd be very depressed. I think I'd probably be on SSRIs, but like having that outlet and having that community in there because the culture in it too. I love the gym culture. Uh, yeah, that's kind of how I stay grounded. And yeah, meditation and all that.
Meditation. Yeah.
Always trying to find something. But yeah, I think it's just finding what you want to do, like what's easy for you.
No,
Because sure,
100%.
you have all these people that have their routines, and even that's why I don't really believe in following a plan. And sure, that is cool at the beginning when you're just learning. When you're following someone else's plan, you're just going with what works best for them. You're gonna
Yeah.
have to go with trying it out and seeing it for yourself. If it works, it works. And you discard all the ones that don't work, that don't fit in with your mindset, with your objectives. And then you focus on what did work. And then you keep trying to try novel things.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, when COVID started, I started doing a lot of Zumba at home.
Okay.
And that was great because I was like to like reggaeton music. So it was like Latino, like
Oh, yeah.
upbeat music. Yeah. So it was great because it doesn't feel like you're doing an exercise necessarily. You're just dancing. And I felt like I was like in a community. So I was like dancing and time was passing by. And then at the same time, like I felt healthy and I didn't like, I mean, we couldn't really go to the gym at that time, but I didn't like have to go to the gym to feel like I'm fit, I guess, to feel like I need to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely there's so many ways. Like
Oh, yeah.
there's rock climbing, there's
Yeah.
dancing, there's walking. That's like
Walking.
it's
Yeah.
so simple. Like it doesn't need to be this entire routine. You could just go out there, get your steps in, and then focus on your breath, and you can feel grounded that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and dancing has been, it's such a big part of my culture too, because mostly in the Caribbean, like I was born a little bit closer to the Caribbean, in Maracaibo. So when I like, you know, Caracas? So that's
No.
like the biggest city in Venezuela, but Maracaibo is the second biggest city. And we're just like right by the Caribbean Sea, kind of. So it's a big thing that we all dance, like salsa, bachata, like all of that. So that has also made me feel like, Venezuelan as well, but also made me feel like I don't need to always go to the gym. Like I can always dance, I can have fun. And that's a great way of exercising the mind as well, like, yeah.
Yeah, expressing yourself that way with dance too
Yeah.
is so cathartic,
Yeah.
so liberating. And
No, yeah, it really is.
yeah, because you don't have to really talk about your emotions to feel them, and when you dance with other people, just the movement to their bodies, kind of the posture, and kind of it's very, yeah, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's freeing. Yeah.
What I know you danced quite a bit back then.
I
You
did,
traveled
yeah.
around for dance?
No, I never got to that point. But I used to. So I started with ballet, and then later on I did jazz, and I did jazz from, I want to say, like 5 to like 11, up until I came here. And no, it was mostly just like at school, but we had competitions at school. We would have dances. Like we had this day called like the day of the kid, and we would dance in like that setting. Or we had like the Day of the Dead, so we would do a dancing then. So it was like we always dance. Like there was not a moment where my teacher wouldn't be like, no, we don't have to, we can't dance. So we would always be dancing. And then here I felt like it was different because it wasn't so much the community aspect. It was like very like individualistic, and they mostly focused on like your flexibility and like how you looked as a dancer instead of the have fun and enjoy yourself. But also, I mean, do good, but like have fun, and here it was just, no, you gotta look like a pretty ballerina. Like you can't move a certain way. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, here it's a lot more individualistic.
Yeah.
Like you ask the kids on campus why are they going to school? So they can get more money, so they can
Yeah.
have a better future. But then if you ask people that are not of the Western part, you ask a lot of the people that are from China or even Korea, Philippines, a lot of them talk about how they do it for their family, for their father. And I think that's a lot stronger. It's a lot less lonely, right? Because then once you're at the top of the mountain, you look around, who's there with you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel like there needs to be boundaries. So I know.
Yeah.
I struggled a lot with, like when I make a lot of money, I have to provide for my parents. I mean, of course I will, but I feel like you don't have to feel like guilty about maybe not making as much money or maybe not being able to provide the same things to your parents. And of course you want to do that for your parents, right? Because, like our parents brought us here and they gave us so many opportunities, and we want to give back. But, like we need like those boundaries of, okay, like if that can't happen, then like it's okay. Like don't, like don't sweat it. Don't pressure yourself into it, right?
Yeah, you do it out of love. And there's also a lot of people that talk about them being forced into the profession, right?
Yeah.
Then that's where I also hear that story where you're not doing the thing because you want to, it's just because of other people. That in itself, that's like very destructive too. But I'm all for going to school for a reason, but then not being forced to do it.
Yeah. Were you forced to go to school? I was forced to go to school.
I was not forced to school, but I was heavily influenced.
Okay.
Like it was all, they'll accept me for who I am, but
yeah,
certainly I was looked down upon or just judged if I didn't take the route of going to U of A.
Right.
But I know they would have come to understand if I didn't choose that path. I think for me, I was just willing to lay those boundaries where I get to decide.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm sure they would have been fine now, but at the time they didn't. They were like, you need to pick a degree, you need to go now. I wanted to take a year off and they said no. Yeah. You can't. So I took a semester off instead. Not that that made a difference. But
now you've already graduated though, so it did.
Yeah, I'm happy I graduated. I mean, it wasn't my first pick of a degree. At first, I thought psych was gonna be really cool, but also easier than most degrees. And as you know, it's not easy. It's very hard. I feel like people underestimate how hard psychology is. And I'm really happy I graduated, but I don't know that I see myself being a psychologist.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of jobs that you could use with the psych degree.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's like marketing, there's being a police officer, there's so many other things that you
And
can do with
even
psych.
completing the degree too. I read this book. It's kind of what it's called, the elephant inside the room, something like that. And it
Okay.
talked about how you don't actually learn kind of the content itself in university. It's you forget a majority of it.
Yeah.
But it's the discipline. And can you hand this in on time? Can you absorb this information and show up when you're expected to show up? And kind of the degree is testament to that. And that's a lot of jobs because usually you just learn on the job for the most of it anyways.
No, and we all learn in different ways, right? Like I feel like if I would have had a more hands-on experience, I would have learned quicker. And I think that's how most people are, right? Like I feel like reading for me a book about psychology is just not as efficient as if I was with a professor doing something hands-on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What was your favorite class in the university?
In university, honestly, all of my Spanish classes were my favorite classes.
That must have been just easy.
People say that, but it's not. It's like taking English literature.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole thing. Like we're reading in Spanish. Not only that, we have to write essays. We have to do research. Like it's a lot goes into it.
Well, you did grow up here, so
I did. So it was harder.
It's not like you were born. You were born in Venezuela, but you didn't grow up there your entire life.
No, my understanding of Spanish vocabulary or grammar was grade 6. So from that to university, everyone's like, oh, but that's so easy. I'm like, well, no, I have to relearn the grammar. I had to learn more vocabulary, right? Like the right words, essays. Like it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with going back to when the fitting in Venezuela, do you find that people say you have an accent?
Still?
Yeah.
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 I get it all the time. Certain
where
words,
are you
it's like,
from?
oh,
Like, what do you mean? I'm from here.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Canadian. No,
Yeah,
you're not.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, like I'm from Venezuela.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
And
get that
then
all the time too?
Yeah, in the Philippines. Like I thought I was fluent, but I guess not, because then they're able to tell just right away that I'm not from around there, even though I was born there and I was there till 9. But yeah.
Oh yeah, no, every time I came back to Venezuela, I would always get comments like, oh, you sound more Mexican, for example. But if I went to Mexico, I sound nothing like them. They're like, no, you sound more gringa, which is like you sound more North American. And then when I'm here, people are like, you're not Canadian. And I'm like, okay, so where am I from?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just find your place eventually.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about your experience with anxiety.
Okay, so I feel like I've always had anxiety one way or another. I mean, when I was a kid, maybe just it wasn't, I think, as known or as talked about. And I was always that kid that would get shut down. Like if I was being too loud or if I was having a lot of fun, like my parents would be like, hey, stop. Like nobody wants to hear you doing that. Or in the classroom, if I asked like a random question, I would also get shut down. And then coming here, also that pressure of like having to know English and then speaking and it's different words or I'm not saying it properly, that kind of made me more shy over the years. And then and then I guess in high school, getting made fun of in high school and in junior high, then that kind of led to now where I just deal with so much anxiety every day. Like it got to the point one time where I was at school and university, I was in a psych class and I had to do an oral presentation. And I was just like my world, like I was spinning. Like I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything. I was shaky. Like I felt like I was literally going to like collapse.
Panic attack.
Like panic attack. Yeah, I think it was like my first panic attack ever. And I had never experienced that. And if I have, this was probably like the worst one. But ever since then, I've just been dealing with like so much anxiety.
What triggered it?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking it's COVID because after COVID, I used to work with a lot of people, like restaurant work. Like I used to be a server.
Mhm.
I used to work at group homes, if you're familiar with that. And then after COVID, I became a nanny. So I'm just with the kids and like the parents sometimes. So I don't really
Less
talk.
interaction.
Yeah, I don't really talk to a lot of people anymore. So I think coming back to that and then doing school online, I just got very like, oh my gosh, like I don't like being around people anymore. Like even talking to someone, it's just like so nerve-wracking. Like it's really odd, but
No, that's I feel
yeah.
that. I think during the summers, with when I just spent the times gaming in elementary, I'd come back and it was like that little, like I was rusty at communication.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see this with a lot of kids on campus too, especially the first, second years, the kids who went through COVID in high school, their level of interaction is so out of touch. Like it
Yeah.
seems like they're just a lot more anxious and a lot more hesitant to talk, to make that first move. The handshakes are just flimsy and
Right.
yeah, and yeah, did you always have anxiety, or was it did it just come about after COVID?
I want to say I've always had anxiety because I was always worrying about future things that I can't control. Like it was always my mind could not shut off at night. Like I would always just be like thinking and thinking and thinking. And then up until maybe high school when I went to see a psychologist, she was like, yeah, like you have like extreme anxiety. Like you have generalized anxiety disorder. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then from then on, it was fine up until like after COVID when I think it just got worse because of the whole interaction thing, in my opinion. And then I went to see another psychologist and
Mhm.
she kind of gave me some tips to calm it down. And like I do, like I do breathing exercises or I go for a walk or whatnot, and that helps. But yeah, I think it's just gotten worse over the years, but I've definitely always had it.
Yeah, I think it's just meditation definitely helps with it.
Yeah.
Journaling helps,
Yeah.
walking, exercise, like surrounding yourself with good people
Hmm.
and exposure therapy and just being in that situation. And you had mentioned that you're obsessing on things that you can't control, but then just focusing on what you can control, and then the things that you do fear, facing it head on. Is that, do you leverage that, like exposure therapy?
Yeah, no, I got told once, like when I was telling my therapist, oh, like I feel like I have so much going on. She's like, okay, what's the first thing that you need to do? And I'm like, oh, my homework. Okay, so do your homework today. Okay, great. And then you take the next step to do other things. So like, don't just do everything at once.
Yeah.
When I used to do everything at once, I'm like, oh my god, I have to do my psych oral presentation. I have to write an essay. I have to. So I just started doing one thing at a time, and I find that helped for the most part. Like you also deal with anxiety, right? Like
For me, I don't really struggle with social anxiety.
okay.
I don't but yeah, I do relate to obsessing on things that I can't control, but
Yeah.
it's more obsessing on future plans, my future
Yeah.
vision. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to be this person, but then there's this thing that could go wrong, or like I'll think about a scenario, like a very unlikely scenario that could happen. Like it's not
Right.
impossible. And my mind would go there and would like fixate on it. And I would just go on Reddit and I'd go on YouTube and I'd go on all these websites to soothe myself, or just make it worse. But just like I had a stone get when you're driving behind someone and like a big truck gets a rock
Oh,
into
yeah.
your windshield. That
Yeah,
happened
yeah.
to me for the first time.
Okay.
And I run a lot. And so it got me thinking, what if this happened to my eye?
Right.
Like very long stretch, right? But
Yeah.
I was actually obsessing about it. Like it ruined my day. I was like, yeah, if I'm running one day and I'm behind the car for like that single instance, what if that rock were to get flinged into my eye and I'm gonna go blind? Okay, then when I'm blind, what am I gonna do? I'm probably gonna have to learn how to be comfortable with that one eye. People are gonna judge me. and then I made this entire narrative in my head, projected out. That's kind of where my anxiety stems from.
No, mine too.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both. Yeah. I obsess over like every little thing. I'm like, oh, let's say when I'm traveling, oh, the plane could fall. Because I just saw a video that the plane could fall, so the plane's going to fall. And then I'm like, okay, what if I survive? Am I going to like get out this way? Am I going to call something? You know, it's like just like weird obsessions.
The movie, okay, what if you do survive? There's 10 of you. You're going to have to resort to cannibalism. And then,
like it's
okay,
just...
then is it really worth surviving? Sure, you do survive. Then there's the trauma. Okay, then maybe there's the paparazzi now that you're very famous because you survived this famous plane crash. No,
it's just like I always think about that too.
It's very futile. I know a lot of people do struggle with this, and it's just drawing in your mind and going. The chances of that happening extremely unlikely. When that bridge is crossed, then I'll cross that bridge. Try my best. Sure, the bridge may be burning and maybe there won't be a clear pathway, but you'll cross that bridge and you're going to die trying.
Right. No, it's about really taking the step to doing things in the moment and not worry about the future, right? Like Javi has been very good for that, being like, hey, Amanda, like, because we would be out doing something and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if we do this the next day? And he's like, hey, like, that's the next day. Like, why don't you focus on right now? Yeah.
There's a Rocky quote. There is no tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
All we've got is right now.
Yeah.
And sure, we could plan for our week. Could plan a year from now. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. I'm going to be there with my family. But you aren't there. Mm-hmm. All you've got is right now. I mean, even as this conversation was going, I got 3 worries that came into my head, but then it's just, I'm not dealing with that right now. So what's the point? Right. There's really no utility in it. But it's training your mind to be able to combat that and go, okay, discard what is useless, which is most of our thoughts, and then kind of just equip yourself with the now.
Yeah, no, 100%. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to think that some people don't have anxiety or like these thoughts.
A lot of people do. Actually. They just don't. They're just kind of oblivious to that. Like I'd say every single person I've talked to has some form of like level of anxiety.
Oh yeah.
Whether like, why are people motivated to make all this money to achieve, to go to school? It's because they're worried that their health might deteriorate. I think it's like a continuum. A lot of people just have it worse. A lot of people have it, but they don't really care. They don't really have tools like meditation to alleviate.
That's true. A lot of people really suppress their feelings, right? They don't really think about anything, and then until it's too late, and then they're like, "Oh, why am I feeling like this?" Yeah. Or you blow up. Yeah, right. I see that with my dad sometimes, and I love him. Yeah. He's a great guy, but he just doesn't struggles kind of opening up and struggles just talking about his emotions. Yeah, but he is a very great father. He's done a lot for me, and I've kind of taken that from him, where I just muster up the courage no matter how tough life gets. Like I see him and he doesn't really talk about his emotions. He doesn't really, he just puts on the bootstraps, and if the house needs an AC, the house needs an AC, and he makes it happen. If he thinks the future is better off with us in Canada, he makes it happen. No questions asked. And he doesn't really ask for help. And that's in today's kind of era, like that's frowned upon. I'd like to make an improvement on that, where sure, that is great to have discipline, but it's also good to, let other people in and talk about your emotions. Yeah, no, my parents, my mom is a little bit better now, but my dad too is not really good with his emotions. And one time he said to me, should I go to therapy? And I was like, wow, yes, you should. Yeah, you should. But I think that's a lot of boomers, but a lot of foreign parents, I find they don't really believe in anxiety, depression, none of that, right? Mental health. Yeah, it's not as prioritized in those countries. No, I think they think that if they're working hard, if they have something to do, then that's not a factor. That's not existent, you know?
Oh, like reflecting's a big thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I reflect all the time. I mean, when you're just, I think they did a study of people just left in a room, and there's like a little buzzer that would, if you pressed it, you get a little bit of a shock. And most people pressed that because they couldn't, they kept repeatedly pressing it too, because most people just can't sit with their thoughts. They have to be doing something. And that's another form of power, is just being able to sit there and just not do anything.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's so powerful when you go out for lunch by yourself and you don't look at your phone. You're just, by yourself. And people think that that's so like bad. Like it's like frowned upon, like, oh, like why is that person alone? Like maybe that person's having a great time in their own thoughts,
Yeah. They're just doing nothing. Like if you are actually comfortable with yourself and you're just sitting there or you're standing up, like those are like so peaceful for me when I have those truly liberating thoughts where I'm just actually in the moment, and it doesn't have to be this grand event that I'm at. It's a one Tuesday morning and I'm enjoying my green tea.
Yep.
And I'm thinking about the blessings that God has given me. And yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So how have your experiences with anxiety influenced your lifestyle of constant movement and adaptation?
I feel like constant movement and adaptation have definitely been a part of my anxiety, just because every time that I felt like I had a home base, we would always move. And then that gave me that feeling of like the unknown, like, oh, like I hate the unknown. Like I need to know exactly what I'm going to do like 3 years from now, or exactly what I'm going to do 10 years from now. And then that has kind of been like very, very nerve-wracking, because what am I going to do next time, right? So yeah, and I think obviously my dad meant well. I mean, my dad really wanted us to have a great future, and like it's definitely been great, but that has definitely played a big part of my anxiety. Also, not knowing when I'm going to see my family again. I mean, my grandma, she passed away in 2020 in COVID.
So sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, like that was hard because I hadn't seen her since 2015, and we were very close. And unfortunately, I didn't talk to her that much because I was, doing some of my stuff. And yeah, and that's hard, like not knowing when you're ever going to see your family, and that causes a lot of anxiety as well.
You never know when someone's last day on Earth is. Like I heard about that NHL player. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was just fairly young.
Yeah.
Just one night, boom, just like that.
Yeah.
And you with family members, like one day you're just having the best time, and then the next they're gone.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it, and it's truly appreciating the moments of connection when they do come, and just instead of worrying, instead of just being so anxious. Easier said than done.
No, of course.
But to actually live in the moment and to feel those feelings as they come, of compassion, of love, of the moments that happen, absorb it fully, because tomorrow is not a guarantee.
No, of course. And yeah, no, like, would you say, do you think that not being with your family is, like, are you close to your family from the
very,
Philippines?
very close.
Yeah.
Very Filipino family, and
like the community.
Yeah. I love the food. I love trying to learn more about the culture and about the language. There's different dialects.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't speak the main one, and so it's hard for me to connect with other Filipinos. And when we do meet other Filipinos, they're all speaking Tagalog, but I'm fluent in Bisaya.
Okay.
But not Tagalog, so I have to speak in English for them to understand.
Right.
But I can understand Tagalog, though. It's just hard to speak. I don't know if it's different when you're understanding Spanish and then speaking Spanish. Do you ever get that?
Yes, I mean, because I grew up in Mexico, I do understand Spanish, but I feel like I speak better in English, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Do you think in English?
I think in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you remember the switch?
I don't, but sometimes I'm like, how come I don't like think in Spanish anymore? But honestly, now that I have more Latino friends and my boyfriend is Chilean, so he speaks Spanish as well, I sometimes I will do the switch of speaking in Spanish in my mind, but it's mostly English.
Mm, that's
Yeah.
fascinating, hey?
Yeah.
Spanish was your first language,
My first language.
but it was your dominance. Now
Right.
it's not your dominant.
No. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like it could be. I'm comfortable in both, but I do think if I wanted to express myself emotionally or like, yeah, emotionally, I would be more comfortable in English. Oddly
Yeah.
enough.
That's what I just made the discovery of you can try your best to express yourself, because at work there's this other Filipino that I told them, kuya, that means elder brother in
Okay.
Filipino, only speak to me in Tagalog and I'll speak to you in Tagalog so I can learn better. And what I've found is it's harder for me to express my emotions because the word choice is just so limited, and it takes so much more time to process.
Oh yeah.
Right? And I think a limited vocabulary, like if you don't know what melancholy or catharsis or all these words, it's certainly hard to be able to put it into a true and accurate form of how you feel.
Mm-hmm. No, for me, it's if I'm speaking in Spanish, then I forget a word and then I say it in English. And if I'm speaking English, I forget a word and I say it in Spanish. And it's just like, why can't I remember in the moment? And then now I'm adding French into the mix because my sister lives in Montreal and her husband is Quebecois. And I'm trying to learn French for them as well. And then I also have some French words. So it's just like, it's so funny how the brain is like, yeah, it's like, like, what am I speaking right now? You know?
Yeah, it's gonna make your own language of all three.
Yeah, like one time, it's so funny because it's not even like I know that much French. Like I wouldn't say I'm trilingual yet, but I know enough. And one day I was like, oh, like how do you say oat milk in Spanish? And then I'm thinking in French, like, oh, it's avoine. And I'm like, why can I only remember the French one? And then I realized, oh, but like avoine is close to avena, which avena is oat in Spanish. So it's super similar. So that's why the brain is kind of like, no, like avoine. Yeah.
That's fair. What coping mechanisms have you developed to manage anxiety, especially in unfamiliar environments while traveling?
I think just breathing, a lot of breath work. When I was in Barcelona, for example, so Barcelona they speak Spanish, but they also speak Catalan, and that's a totally different language. I mean, there's similar words, but I was taking the train to go meet my friend. It's in a different language. I'm freaking out because I don't know where I'm going. And for background, like it's the same train that was going to take me at that place anyways. I just had to literally just keep going straight, and I didn't do that. So I would like constantly like get out of the train because I just didn't understand that I just had to keep going. And then I got off at one stop and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh, I'm going to call an Uber. And they have no Uber. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get robbed. So at the time I was like, okay, like just take a deep breath, like just, calm down. And then once you calm down, then you can search up on Google Maps, like where I need to go. And then that's what I did. And then I ended up meeting my friend over there. But that was a lot. But breathing work definitely has helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breath work is so important.
Yeah.
To be able to control that autonomic feature of your body and put it to conscious effort is so liberating.
Yeah.
Because your mind is so composed of all these different thoughts and, oh, what if that, this, all this fears. But then when you take a step back, You just focus on that breath, do it for 10 minutes, then you go back to thinking. Everything seems so much more clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Yeah, so that has worked for me, or just doing one thing at a time, right? Like if I have to plan a trip, okay, what's the first thing? Okay, book the tickets. Okay, that can be done in just one day. I don't have to plan the whole trip that day. The next day, what can I do? Okay, plan the first stop, and like just taking little steps. So you're not like, oh my gosh, I'm worried about my trip. Like what's going to happen, and then you start like catastrophizing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people do that,
Yeah.
but they don't have mechanisms to be able to relax.
Yeah.
It's, I can't imagine what life would be like if these calming modalities didn't exist.
Right.
Like what would your life look like if you had if you didn't have these tools?
I would probably be insane right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just be constantly thinking. I would probably be very overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a reality for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. We live in that world. Like just for you to be in that mindset of finding tools to dampen your anxiety, to find hope, and to look in your past and see that, oh, this is why I think this way, and this is why I view myself in a certain light because of that person had said to me, and the bullying. A lot of people just let life dictate what happens to them.
Yeah.
And it's a catastrophe.
Yeah, no, and I mean, what I look at it is, if that person hadn't said that, then I wouldn't be the person I am today, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm almost thankful for them.
Yeah. In a way, right?
I know this gets thrown out a lot, but yeah, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I think it all aligns, and sure, you could argue that, yeah, but what if that insert bad event, catastrophe? I don't know. Maybe it's just, I just can't have it any other way. I think if the world didn't have meaning and purpose, and I was swimming in cynicism and nihilism, I just wouldn't have enough mental power to keep going. I crave that higher purpose of, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? It's not because I just want to survive. It's for something, for someone, for the next generation, for my family, and sure, for me too, but just growing as the time progresses.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, like, I really believe that things happen for a reason. Like, I mean, it's funny enough that I was telling my older sister, we should have a podcast. And then you text me and you're like, hey.
You guys should. I'd
really?
Help you out with the setup.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I've gone through kind of the trials and tribulations of all the different mics and the different software. Let me know.
Yeah,
and
sounds
certainly
good.
Send you guys some links and which products and how to set it up, and to open up Spotify and Apple Podcasts, YouTube, tell you about that, and Shorts.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I mean, she lives far away, so I guess it would kind of be like an online.
You could do online too. I've done that one time. I got one scheduled on Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
It's this guy named Miguel Del Rosario.
Oh, Miggy.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's coming on.
In Vancouver now.
Yeah, big videographer. I love his videos.
Yeah, no, he's great. Yeah.
You guys are friends?
No. He used to be friends with my ex, or they still are. But I knew him from like videography and stuff.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
He makes
he's good.
Cool videos.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how has your background in psychology helped you understand and navigate your anxiety?
Honestly, one time my professor said to me, or said to us in general, if you are always like in a little ball like this, instead of like sitting like up and like that, like up, straight up, then you're always gonna be feeling bad. So like if you're always in bed, if you're not doing anything, if you don't go outside, then you always feel like you're not good, like you're tired, like, like everything like that. So that really stood up to me. It's like, yeah, like posture definitely matters. in my opinion as well. Yeah.
In my class today, my first philosophy 203, something about that. There was this girl in front of me, and she just had headphones the entire time, and her posture was rounded and just very closed off, never looked at anyone, didn't
Yeah.
ask questions, didn't even look at the prof. And I'm just like, what is this sending to everyone, like around her?
Right.
This is not an approachable person. This is a person that just is closed off. Like the posture is very, very kind of not showing confidence. And yeah, then you, from her perspective, right, she just wants to feel safe.
Right.
And what that's doing is it's just signaling people to, hey, back off. I don't want anything to do with you, and I don't want to be talked to. And certainly posture alone can really communicate to others how you're doing and how you're feeling, and it can really add or take away from your interactions.
Yeah, no, of course. Like, I mean, with me, like, I struggle with anxiety, and if I'm always in class with my headphones and looking down at my screen, like, I'm never gonna make friends. Like, the one time I started making friends was when I was making those interactions and I was sitting up and somebody talked to me because I looked approachable, right? Otherwise, if I didn't look approachable, then no friends would have ever been made that day or any day. You know what I mean? So it does really help with interactions and mood as well, I would say.
You have a scowl on your face and you just look angry. Like, why would people come up and say hi?
Yeah.
Right? And it requires constant effort.
Yeah.
It's like watering a plant too. And that's in all relationships, whether it be romantic, platonic, it's in your family, your friends. It's when you see them, are you actually interested? Are you signaling that you are genuine, that you want the best for them? Or do you kind of just half-ass it? You're in a hurry, you're looking at your phone half the time, you forget what they've said, and you're not really into it. Like, why would people want to talk to you? That's
Right.
also something I've learned about connection and being able to live a fulfilling life.
Yeah. No, yeah. And also I found, I don't remember if my professors have told me this, but apparently, and I have done this, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you talk to yourself, that's like a lot of like character building for you and to talk to other people as well. Because you're kind of like looking at yourself where you're interacting technically with someone else, but it's you. And if your face is like tense or if your face is like, like this, then like what you look like.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I like to, if people saw me from like, I'd look crazy, but I like to smile at myself in the mirror after I wash my hands or after I wash my face, just like to see, to reinforce that I'm content and I'm looking at myself and I make myself feel happy.
No, that's awesome. I mean, when I was younger, I used to look at myself in the mirror and like talk to myself. And like maybe that's a little crazy, but
that's right.
But I think it's just good. I think it's good. Like, oh, like you look good today. Oh wow, like your hair looks amazing. Oh, like I feel great today. Like I think that's very good.
Yeah. A lot of people look at the mirror and they fixate on maybe their nose or their weirdly shaped eyes. But then really that's taking away from you. You don't get good out of that. Like, what's that? Sure. Okay. If there was utility in doing that and you were going to be more successful and living a fulfilling life, keep doing that. If it's making you happy.
Right.
It's not making you happy. And there's this, I'm not going to do it justice. I'm going to try to explain it anyways. There's a study that came out and these people were told to interact with this person with a scar on their face or something that made them insecure.
Okay.
And I think it was like painted on or something and like it looked really real. And one of the questions after that interaction when they were told to interact was, did they treat you differently because of that thing on your face? And what they found out is I think they like tricked them or something, but they like took that makeup off when they didn't notice. And what they found out was they fixated on that thought on their face when it wasn't there anymore. And they thought they were looking for ways why this other person treated them differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes
I
sense.
gotta read that study again. It was really insightful.
Yeah.
But like when we talk to someone, we're like, oh, there's this pimple on my forehead, or oh, this is like they're looking at my nose, or oh, they're looking at the fat on my face or my belly. I'm not good enough. And you look for ways, oh, that eye contact, like they looked at me that
Yeah.
that definitely means I'm fat. And it's like, no, you that's a story in your head. That's not real. And most people don't care. Most people are like accept you. You treat them with kindness.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy how, yeah, if you have like a pimple in your face, you're like fixating on the pimple the whole day. You're like, oh my God, someone's gonna look at the pimple, and like they're just looking at me, like they're just looking at you. They're not looking at your pimple. And if they are, like they probably don't really care. Or are they gonna remember that after they talk to you, oh my gosh, Amanda's pimple,
Yeah.
Or oh wow, Amanda's a nice conversation today.
Yeah. I was talking to this girl she works at the gym, and she just has a little bit of like an acne problem.
Okay.
But that never, like, she's like the most confident person I've ever met. Like she just says what she thinks, and she looks you directly in the eye and doesn't stutter, very confident with each word, and her ideas are well structured. And if you ask her a question, she has her own opinion and she has evidence for that belief. And she doesn't really, I'm sure it probably bothers her, but it doesn't,
for sure.
It doesn't show, like I don't, and I think she's like, I look up to her. She's very, very amazing person to talk to. And I enjoy the times where I do see her. But yeah, stuff like that. We definitely prophesize certain things when we fulfill it in our heads.
Right. Yeah. No, and that just goes to show like acne doesn't define you. Like having something in your body that you don't like doesn't define you, like no one's gonna notice that. They're gonna notice, or they're gonna remember your interaction more than what you have on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think of like, what are they going to say in my obituary? Are they going to say, oh yeah, this guy was benching 225. This guy was so rich and so good looking. No, they're going to go, how did that person make you feel?
Yeah.
They were there for me when I needed help. They were there for me when I was struggling, when nobody else was there for me. They opened the door and they sent that text, and when I wasn't reaching anyone, they called me.
Yeah.
It's like, which one truly matters, and being able to decipher that. I'm sure we have all these anxious thoughts, but yeah, being able to establish, what do you want?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you're right.
And yeah, that's about it. Let's take this to land. Are there any last words you'd like to tell to the listeners, viewers?
I mean, just keep being yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel any less. And yeah.
Are you going on any trips this year?
Punta Cana. We're in the works of maybe going to Punta Cana. I'm kind of like trying to convince him. Yeah. Well, we're going to Montreal next week.
Oh, nice. That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, as always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this world. Never lose hope, strengthen your faith, and keep it long term. Amanda Fuenmayor, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.